Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Beneath the Surface, where we discuss political, social and Islamic issues taking place around the world. Today we'll be discussing Wiladat Imam Ali alayhi salam, and joining us on the show is SayidZafarAbbas, an Islamic lecturer. Assalamu alaikum, Sayyid.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Last time we spoke about Imam Ali and how his character had the bravery, at the same time the lovingness. He had the courage, at the same time he had that khushu' to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he would be on the path regardless of anything. Even if the people were, against him and would fight him for it, he would not twist anything to suit the people's minds. This shows us how he was able to balance many different qualities and characteristics. How can we actually learn to follow him in that footsteps?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi tahirin. Truly, Imam Ali alayhi salam, as a person, was one who had all these qualities which we might call in an ordinary human being to be antithetical. They don't come together. But all of them were within him. And I think what that shows to us is that for every person, whoever they might be and whatever their characteristics and whatever their kind of personality type might be, there's something in Amirul Mu'minin alayhi salam's life for them. In other words, if someone's a warrior, if someone's a scholar, if someone's a speaker, if someone is just a worshipper, in all those categories, if someone is a philanthropist, in all these categories, there's something in Amirul Mu'minin alayhi salam's life for everyone. And this is what truly makes the Ma'soom, Amirul Mu'minin alayhi salam, or any other of the infallibles, as a personality for everyone. So it's not, and sometimes we make this error in saying that Amirul Mu'minin is ours only. No, he's for everyone. He has this capability to be for everyone, and that people from all the schools in the religion of Islam, and in fact people outside of the religion of Islam, have written and spoken about these characteristics which they have found endearing. So, for example, famous Lebanese author George Jordaq in Sawt al-Adalat al-Insaniya says that this was a time when he's speaking about the Khilafah al-Zahiri of Amirul Mu'minin alayhi salam, and he says that this was a time where people from all the different religions, whosoever were present within the rule of Amirul Mu'minin alayhi salam, received justice. And this is unique to his time, he says. He says that because Amirul Mu'minin, when he came onto the minbar in Masjid al-Kufa, he said, I will rule according to, for the people of the Quran according to the Quran, and for the people of Tawrat according to Tawrat, and for the people of Injil according to Injil. And so, because I know all of these books, and I will rule according to them. So it's something unique that Amirul Mu'minin salam is a man for everyone. He isn't limited to people who believe in him or follow him or accept him as the Imam. Of course, those of us who accept him as the Imam and as the commander and total authority after the Holy Prophet of Islam do so for our own selves. This is the basis for our salvation. But other people also recognize Amirul Mu'minin salam, and he is for everyone. This gives us an insight that if he's for everyone, then a person who follows Amirul Mu'minin salam has to be for everyone as well. In that, if somebody needs me as a person, needs my help, if somebody needs something from me, if society demands something from me, if the community needs something from me, then I should be that person. If I'm modeling my life around Amirul Mu'minin, I should be that person who is there to assist people and help people regardless of what they are and what is in it for me. Because one of the outstanding characteristics of the Imam is that he didn't help people expecting something in return for that. In many cases, he helped people who later went against him, who later opposed him, fought battles against him. But that didn't stop him from helping them, in that he knows that this person is going to come 20 years later and he's going to fight against me. But despite that, he still helps that person because he knows that that's the right thing to do. So it wasn't about what will this person do for me? What will this person return for me? What will this person be able to do for me? No, it was that Amirul Mu'minin is saying, I'm doing the right thing at this time in this moment in time. At this moment in time, the right thing is to help this person. At this moment in time, the right thing is to do this. So that gives us an insight into the philosophy of Imamate in the religion of Islam. That the Imam is a person who helps people because it's the right thing to do, not because that person can do something for them or that person can then owe them a favor at some other later. No. Because it's the right thing to do, the Imam Salamullah alayhi, regardless of which time it is, will help that person, will give that person whatever they need, even if that person will go against them. There's a famous narration from Imam Sajjad alayhi salam where he speaks about the importance of giving back trust. In that he says that the importance of giving back trust is so important that if Ibn Muljim came to me and kept the sword with which he would kill my grandfather Amirul Mu'minin salam, as a trust, I would return it back to him. Even though I know that he's going to use that sword to kill my grandfather Amirul, but because he's kept it with me for a trust, therefore I will return it back. So this implies and tells us that the importance of doing the right thing is more important than anything else. And because returning the trust is the right thing at this moment in time, regardless of what that person will do with it afterwards, in the sense that what the person will do afterwards is their responsibility. But the responsibility of returning the trust is with the person with whom he has been entrusted, because of course, as we know, once the trust is lost, then it's very hard to regain. So Imam alayhi is telling us here that this is the philosophy of the Imam Salamullah alayhi, that you've got to do the right thing. And therefore, as a person who's trying to follow the Imam Salamullah alayhi, has to do the same thing as well. Right? We will not, our expectation or our goal is not to get to that level because it's not possible. But at least our goal is to be able to try to do the right thing. The philosophy is what we should be adopting. For sure, somebody might say this is an idealistic goal, but the religion of Islam wants to test the boundaries. It wants to put me in that situation where I really push the boundaries and say that this is out of my comfort zone. I can do it, and not that I just do the things which I think will directly benefit me right now, or somebody who can return a favor to me. So really, in summary, that is what Amirul Mu'minin is telling us. That look, this is me, and this is what I did, and these are the different angles that you will look at me at. And for every single angle that you will look at me, there will be something for somebody. If that person is a warrior, they can take from my life as a warrior. If that person is a philanthropist, they can take from my giving. If that person is a worshipper, they can take from my ibadah. If that person is a scholar, they can take from my knowledge. If that person is a speaker, that person can take from my oratory. In every aspect of my life, there's something in it for you. And that, in summary, that is what makes Amirul Mu'minin the person that he is. And really, that is what is the greatest lesson. That for whatever I do, there's something in it for all of us. And for whatever happens, Imam Salamullah alayhi is teaching us, do the right thing, regardless of what the consequences of that might be.
This may be a sensitive topic, but how come Imam Ali alayhi salam allowed the Khalifas to actually become Khalifs, even though at the time there were many narrations, until now there in all different schools of thought, that are very clear, saying that Imam Ali alayhi salam was meant to be the Imam. How come he just allowed them to be Khalifs?
If we look at this particular area, it's a very sensitive area because it requires us again to come back to the philosophy of the imamate. And of course the philosophy of the imamate is that a person who's the imam, or any representative of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, be it imam, prophet, messenger, then that person has received their authority from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whether or not people accept him to be the imam or not, in that a person is an imam even if nobody in the whole of the universe accepts him as the imam, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained him as the imam. Whereas if everybody starts to accept somebody who is not an imam, that person will not become an imam. So this is the first thing to bear in mind. The second thing is that there's a very beautiful example that's been mentioned in one of the arguments regarding kalam. And that is that there's a famous story for Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salatu wasalam, which occurs later on in one of the khilafat, that a child is brought into the court, a baby, and there are two women who claim over the child. So both of them say that this child belongs to me. And obviously there's no solution. People bring witnesses, this person brings witnesses, and there's no resolution of this issue of who is actually the mother of the child. So Amir al-Mu'minin is summoned into the court and he's asked, this is the problem, how can we resolve it? So Amir al-Mu'minin says, bring my sword and I'll chop the baby in half. So I'll give half the baby to you and the other half to you. As soon as he says this, all of a sudden one of the women says that it's not my child. She takes back her claim. She says, it's not my child. And she says, give it to the other woman. Imam Amir al-Mu'minin smiles. And he says, give it to the woman who's saying it's not her child. So everybody in the court is very surprised. They say, Ya Ali, this woman is saying it's not my child. Give it to the other woman. And you're saying, give it to the one who's saying it's not my child. So Imam Amir al-Mu'minin says, yes. Because I know the psychology that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created within the real mother. That she is able to see the child go to somebody else. But she is not able even for a moment to even imagine that the child will be killed. Because that is a bond that the mother has with the child. Now, how does this relate with this question? It relates with this question that Amir al-Mu'minin sees Islam as his child. Islam is his child. And that he is not even for a moment willing for Islam to be killed. He is willing for Islam to go to somebody else. But he is not willing for Islam to be killed. Because he knows that if there's fighting after the Holy Prophet of Islam is passing away, then there's a very real chance that people will leave the religion of Islam and go. They will say, we don't want to be involved in such a religion. As people are saying now. As people are saying now, while all this violence goes on in the name of Islam, that is what would have happened straight after the Holy Prophet of Islam. So Amir al-Mu'minin says, no, I want to save people and make sure that they remain Muslim. Make sure that Islam is not destroyed. Because of course Islam is still in its infancy. It's only been 23 years since the Holy Prophet of Islam began delivering the message of Islam. If after 23 years Islam is destroyed, then what Quraysh had wanted would have happened. And Imam Amir al-Mu'minin refuses that. He says, I will not let that happen. And what he says is that if that means that I have to give up some of my rights, then so be it. Because this is what is the right thing to do, as we said previously. This is what is the right thing to do. And more importantly is that when he goes into the court, he's dragged out of the house, his rope in his neck, he comes into the court and he says, what is the matter? They say, we want you to pledge allegiance. He says, and if I do not, then what would you do? They say, we'll kill you. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen says that I am the servant of God and the brother of Rasulullah. And they deny that. They say, we don't accept you as the brother of Rasulullah. They say, we do not accept you as the brother of Rasulullah. This is very important, because on this day they say that when an event which took place twice in the lifetime of the Holy Prophet Islam, once in Mecca, once in Medina, the Holy Prophet Islam in both occasions says, Ya Ali anta akhi fi dunya wal akhirah. They say, we don't accept you as the brother of Rasulullah. That tells us that there is a time after the Holy Prophet of Islam where people are not even willing to accept him as brother of Rasulullah, let alone as the Khalifa of Rasulullah, let alone as the Imam and the successor. So, Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen says, when you are not even willing to accept me as the brother of Rasulullah, then how would you accept me as the Khalifa of the Holy Prophet of Islam? And thirdly, Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen demonstrates that I will be proven as the Imam, because every time there will be an issue, I will be summoned. I will be asked a question. I will come there. I will answer the question. And people will realize that here is the person who the Khalifa is dependent on, who the person in power is dependent on, because they don't know. And this person knows. This person is the one who knows. So a person, objective person, who is objective in their reading of what happened after the Holy Prophet of Islam, will see that for over 3 decades, every time there's an issue, this particular incident of the baby and the child, as I mentioned, also takes place during one of the Khilafah. Every time there's a problem, every time there's an issue, every time there's a judgment, Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen is called. Or occasionally a judgment has been passed, and Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen is walking past. For example, the judgment has been passed, there's a woman who's insane, and she's been given the death penalty. And they're taking her over to the tree in order to hang her from the tree. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen sees the woman, and he sees the people who are taking her, and he says, what's going on? They say that she's been given the death penalty for adultery, I believe it was. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen says, what's wrong with you? This person is clearly insane. This person is clearly out, their mind balance is not there. They're insane, they're clinically insane. You cannot put the death penalty on this person. In other words, for something that is as basic as this, that the person who has to be given the punishment, one of the conditions is that the person has to be in a state of sanity. If that person is not sane, if that person's mind balance is not there, if they are clinically insane, you're not allowed to punish this person, because they are not in control of their sanity and their senses. So Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen says, no, take this woman back. There's no punishment for her because she's not sane. If she regains sanity and then she accepts what she did, then it's a different situation. But at this moment in time, there's no punishment for her. So all these examples give us the insight into the fact that Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen is showing through his actions. He's telling us that no, this responsibility of accepting me as the Khalif was of the people, and the people chose not to do so. So we cannot force them. This matter was not a matter where people would have been forced into accepting somebody or not. But as far as the authority of Allah is concerned, then that authority is there whether anyone accepts or not. As far as the matter of allowing people to become, then religion of Islam would say that there would only be the option of fighting. And that option of fighting was not one that Amir al-Mu'mineen wanted to pursue for these reasons that we've mentioned. So therefore, the only option that remained in the absence of fighting and in the absence of compromise, the only option that remained was for the Imam sallallahu alayhi to remain silent and to come and
be the Imam and Khalif by his actions.
By the actions. Now somebody might say that no, if he came and he answered questions and he resolved queries, then that means that everything was fine and he was accepting of this, and so it's all good. So Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen one easy test. First of all, there's different military expeditions and different people are made military leaders in these expeditions. Also, Islam goes to different places. When it goes to different places, then people are made governors of those places. In all of these times, from the time of the demise of the Holy Prophet until Amir al-Mu'mineen gets the Khilafah al-Zahiri, Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen does not participate in any military expeditions, nor is he made the governor of any place. Now in this regard, we ask the question, if he didn't participate in any military expeditions, why did he not? When we know that in the time of the Holy Prophet of Islam, he was the most successful person in the military expeditions. Secondly, if they chose not to include him, why did they choose to do so? If he refused to go, then why did he refuse? In the matter of making a person a governor, the same question arises. Was he not offered to become a governor of a particular place? If he was not offered, why was he not offered? And if he was offered and he refused, why did he refuse? So all these give us an insight into the fact that as far as answering the questions are concerned, as far as helping the people is concerned, the Imam is saying this is my responsibility. As the Imam, I have to help people regardless of what the situation might be. As far as legitimizing authority is concerned, then the fact that I did not accept a position as governor, nor did I participate in any military expedition during this time, will give you an insight into what I think about the legitimacy of those people who came before me.
But then when we're actually to look at the whole Khilafah, if people were at the time to accept Imam Ali alayhi salam as the Imam, what would have changed? Would there have been a great difference with the different sects that have risen within the past 1,000 years, if not more?
It's always difficult to wonder about the what ifs, but certainly we can say, I think with great surety in this matter, that as far as one thing that would have been different is that Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen would have ensured for this whole period of time after the Holy Prophet of Islam for there to be justice in society, and that injustices would not have been tolerated, and that would have made life difficult for lots of different people. But certainly Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen would have made justice the cornerstone of his rule, and that injustice in any form, whether that was injustice to oneself, to one's family, to society, legally, personally, in any form, would not have been tolerated in any way. So that certainly would have been different after Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, and that after the Holy Prophet of Islam, where vast numbers of injustices, starting from the matter of fadak to the matter of appointing people's relatives, even if they were not qualified to rule and to govern, and so on and so forth, took place over this 25-year period. So certainly that would have been different. Of course, again, it is difficult to contemplate over the what is, but of course it would have also been different in the sense that Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wassalam, as a person, if he had been accepted by the people, then there would not have been any questions about different rulers and different successions after the Holy Prophet of Islam, because he would have had the popular legitimacy, and he would have had the legitimacy for the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had appointed him, and that in that sense, and if we look at what happens in the Khilafah al-Zahiri, where of course those who believe in him as the Imam already believe in him, but those who accept him as the Khalifa, also there is popular legitimacy, because once the third Khalifa passes away, the people come to Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen and say, we want you to be the Khalifa, and he himself says, no, appoint somebody else. And they say, no, there's nobody else except for you.
They then just noticed how...
In that sense, the question that every person who will, again, read history objectively will ask is that, what was it that made him disqualified to be the first and made him qualified to be the fourth? If he was the same person 25 years ago, that he's the same person 25 years later. What changed in those 25 years other than the fact that he was older? And is being older just the only criteria for having selected a Khalifa, or is there something else? When, of course, for example, most famously, when we read in the story from Isa alayhi salam, that he's still in the cradle, he's a baby, and he's saying, I'm a prophet of Allah, I've been given a book. So, is that the only criteria? Is there something else? What is it about this issue that in the first instance people were unwilling to accept Imam Amir al-Mu'minin? In the fourth instance, they're forcing him to accept. So what changed in this time other than the fact that injustice was prevalent in society and people did not want injustice anymore? They realized that the only way that they could get justice back, restored, was through Imam Amir al-Mu'minin.
When we discuss, when like Shias and Sunnis come together and they have a bit of a discussion, it usually turns into an actual debate, an argument, because everyone tends to become more protective about, their Imam or their Khalifa, and it kind of becomes a bit, it's not really as civilized as we would want it to be. So when speaking about Imam Ali alayhi salam and how he so-called accepted the Khalifas to be in power, and he supported them, meaning advised them in what to do and what not to do, because he was actually questioned. Because the Sunnis believe that as he helped the Khalifas, that means he was acceptance of them to be a Khalifa. That means he wasn't an actual Imam. However, the Shia school of thought have it as no, he was helping for the sake of Islam and not for them. So because we have a lot of different discussions, and sometimes it becomes a bit heated and it doesn't, no one is really getting anywhere, how can we as Shia actually speak about it to make sure that this misunderstanding is actually being cleared and can actually show the true meaning of why he was actually helping?
I think firstly it's important for any discussion that takes place to remain civilized, and to for people who participate in those discussions to make sure that they really know what they're talking about well, because often we don't know what we want to say or what we are trying to portray, and therefore we become defensive about our own personal beliefs, whoever that might be. So that's really important, firstly. But secondly, also it's important to look at history objectively, without looking at, for example, through the lens of what we believe. So if we want to discuss a particular issue of historical interest, then we have to leave our own beliefs at the door first, and say, these are my beliefs, but for this moment in time while we're having this discussion, I'm leaving my beliefs here, right? And we shouldn't be afraid to do that. We should say, look, these are my beliefs, but I'm leaving them here in order to have this discussion. And in this discussion we're going to talk about what happened, not what I believe. And if we do it in that way, then we'll be able to come to some kind of understanding independent of our beliefs. Because at the moment, when we have these discussions, we do so in the light of our own beliefs. So we already imposed our belief on this particular historical incident. And so the other person says, oh no, I'm imposing my belief on this historical incident. So in order to avoid that, we leave our beliefs at the door and discuss the incident or the historical event. When we do that, then we'll be able to see objectively what the matter is. So for example, in this matter, like I mentioned, in this matter of why Imam Amir al-Mu'minin doesn't accept the position of military commander or the position of governor, maybe if I leave my beliefs at the door and I say, this is a question that I want to know, maybe the other person might say, well, there might be a plausible reason for why this might happen. Maybe there's this reason. Maybe this is why he didn't participate in the battle. Maybe this is why he didn't. But the only way that I can get a genuine answer to this is if I say I'm leaving my beliefs here on the side. Right? I'm just talking about this. I'm not imposing my belief that he's the Imam, therefore he didn't. No, I'm asking a question in order to find out what is your belief. And that way, my own belief will become strengthened, my own belief will become better if I understand what the other person believes. It is not necessary for me, just because I understand the other person's belief, that I have to leave my own belief. No. I should be knowledgeable enough, and I should be open enough to be able to find out about the other person's belief and say I'm going to have my own beliefs because this is what I find convincing, this is what I believe. These are your beliefs. It's good for me to understand what you believe so that I know that the reason why you think this is the case is for this reason. Right? I might disagree with that reasoning. I might think that that reasoning is not convincing enough. But at least I know the reason now. Instead of saying that I don't know the reason, or instead of saying that there's no reason, or ridiculing or mocking somebody's beliefs. Because eventually, as we know in the example of, for example, when people ridiculed or mocked the Holy Prophet of Islam, we feel angry and we feel hurt. So there's no, and in fact it would be quite wrong of us to feel hurt and angry when the Holy Prophet of Islam is ridiculed, and then for us to ridicule beliefs of other people, regardless of who they are. And in that I include everyone. So, it's not one way. This is two way. People from all sides ridicule other people's beliefs.
Not even the Muslims, from all religions as well. Yeah.
So that means that if I'm feeling angry when the Holy Prophet is ridiculed, then I shouldn't be going out ridiculing other people's beliefs. But it's important for me to understand. And in order to understand, this is how I have to approach this issue and say, look, I believe, for example, that Imam Amirul Mu'mineen, this is my premise, that Imam Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam is a person through whom different schools of thought in the religion of Islam can come to unity. Okay, this is my premise. So now let's look at the historical incidents that perhaps we disagree on with different schools in the religion of Islam, and see if we can find something that's accommodating in between. That doesn't mean I have to leave my beliefs. That doesn't mean you have to leave your beliefs. No, it's for us to find out about this particular historical incident and say, if I accept this historical incident, does that impact my beliefs? Does it change my beliefs? Does it? No. If it doesn't, okay. If it does, okay, let me reconsider my beliefs. There's no problem in a person saying, I want to reconsider my beliefs. I want to understand my belief better. Okay, I believed in this because I listened to this and I heard this and I read these books, but now I want to reconsider. Also, that is not a problem. What is the issue is for me to say that I'm going to have this discussion and I've already decided that this is it. I don't want to find out anything at all. Even I don't have to change my own opinions. It is fine for a person to keep their own opinions, for the other person to keep their own opinions. But in order to have the discussion, it is important to know what are the parameters of the discussion, what are the limits of the discussion, what's the space in which we're going to have the discussion. And sometimes this is what happens, or where things go wrong and we become protective of our beliefs, because we have not set out the parameters. We've not said, these are the parameters of our discussion. This is within which we're going to discuss. Right? We already agreed that this is the red line, and within that we're going to discuss whatever we need to discuss. And if that is set out, if that is what we agree on, then we'll be able to have more productive discussions, I think. And that would be in the spirit of the A'immah alayhimu salam, who routinely had discussions with people from different schools and from different faiths and from different religions even. So all of this shows us that there has to be some parameters. This is the parameter of our discussion. This is what we're going to discuss within, and then we'll be able to have a better discussion rather than having an argument or a row or a debate which doesn't really result in anything other than me saying, I think I'm right, and the other person saying, no, I'm right. And that doesn't really increase anyone in their understanding of
Actually,
the other
sometimes
side.
becomes the opposite. It makes the person more defensive for their own belief instead of accepting other people's understanding of the religion. But then one of the main things when discussing the Khilafah with the Imama is that when Uthman was in power, when he was the Khalifa, and he was, people wanted to kill him, Imam Ali alayhi salam instructed Imam al-Hassan and Imam Hussein to protect him and to make sure that nobody actually goes into his home to kill him. And then when the incident happened, because Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein alayhi salam had their reasons to leave, and then they were able to kill him, Imam Ali alayhi salam said to them, like, why did you leave? And so people kind of like use this as a way of saying that Imam Ali alayhi salam, even then, even though, because we sometimes say that Imam Ali alayhi salam helped the Khalifas for the sake of Islam, but then when there's this situation, they say, see, like they're protecting him as a human. So with this, what can we actually answer to make sure that we're actually giving the correct reasoning?
I think this also is a very interesting episode in the Imam Salamullah's life, because if we look at what happens directly after this, in order to give us an insight into what happens here. So straight after this, Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen is accepted as the Khalifa by the people, and people one by one come to pledge allegiance. As one man is coming towards the Imam Salawatullah alayhi to pledge allegiance, and some of his companions are around him, he says that that man who's coming is going to kill me. When he comes, it's Abdurrahman ibn Muljim, and Malik al-Ashtar is around the Imam Salawatullah alayhi, and he says, shall I kill him? Or why don't you kill him? In one other narrative it's stated. Or in a third narrative it's also mentioned that Imam directly said to him that you're going to kill me. And Ibn Muljim says that may God save me from such a day, and so on and so forth, and that I would kill you, and may I die before that happens. And in this narrative where the Imam directly speaks to him, he offers his sword and he says, kill me before such a thing happens. And the Imam gives a really beautiful reply here. He says, either to Ibn Muljim or to his companions, he says, this person or you are going to kill me, but I am not your killer. As far as what is written in destiny, in qadr and qada, is that you are my killer, but I'm not your killer. I have been destined to kill this many amount of people from the time of the Prophet till now, but you are not one of them. Therefore, I will not kill you. And secondly, in Islam, it is not permissible for me to kill someone before the crime has been committed. So that's one. The other thing is when we come to this matter. Again, when we come to this matter, we see that the people who have surrounded the house and who are demanding for the Khalifa to be killed are people who are intent on creating a situation after he's killed so that they can benefit, and people will have, people will go into a kind of commotion and a fitna after that. So they're trying to create a situation which will benefit only a few people. This is what is happening. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen does not want that situation to be created. Again, just as after the Holy Prophet of Islam, there would have been a situation created where Islam could have been in danger. Again, there might be a situation that people are trying to create in which Islam and Muslims will be in danger. So Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen does not want that situation to be created. He's saying to those people who are creating this, he's saying to them that no, this is not the way to do it. In other words, in religion of Islam, the end does not justify the means. In other words, the means has to be correct as well. You cannot go out and kill a person just because he killed you, or just because he killed someone from my family. No, that's not permissible. It has to go through legal due processes. the religion of Islam would not allow me to take the law into my own hands. So because people had taken the law into their own hands, Imam Amirul Mu'minin sent Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein there to stop people from taking the law into their own hands. Eventually afterwards, people do take the law into their own hands and they kill him, and then we see the result of what happened. Because once Imam Amirul Mu'minin assumes the office of Khilafat, then all those people who were looking to benefit from the death of this person, they now come against Imam Amirul Mu'minin. Whether that is in the Battle of Basra, Talha and Zubair accompanied with the wife of the Prophet, or it's Muawiyah in Siffin. All the people who were looking to benefit from that situation by pursuing their own interests. Imam Amirul Mu'minin says, no, I do not want people to suffer as a consequence of certain individuals taking benefit from a situation. Therefore, I've sent Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein there in order to protect the situation, in order to protect the peace, and in order to protect Muslims as a whole. Because of course in the house it's not just the Khalifa, there's family as well, there's children as well, there's other people as well. And the Imam Sallallahu is saying it that even if he's done something wrong, to take the law into your own hands is not acceptable.
Which is a beautiful message, as today, like, of course people are not being, which there is people being Khalifas in Iraq and stuff, but then when someone does a wrong to you, we have to learn to always respond with a right to hopefully change the person, and hopefully the person would actually embrace Islam in the best way. Thank you very much for speaking to us about Imam Ali alayhi salam, and thank you very much for watching Beneath the Surface. See you next time.